Forget everything you think you know from the movies. We're about to pull back the curtain on how global power really works. And these insights come straight from a former CIA agent who was on the inside. Honestly, it's chilling stuff, and it'll change the way you see the world.
This one quote from the agent just cuts right to the bone, doesn't it? It's not just about physical danger. He's talking about the massive psychological gap between a controlled training environment and the absolute raw brutality of the real world. This isn't a movie tagline, it's a warning.
And this is where most of us get it completely wrong. Real spy training isn't about breaking people down with torture. It's the exact opposite. It's about building them up, inoculating them against trauma. Think of it like building a psychological fortress, because if you break in training, you're a massive liability out in the field, where the stakes are life and death.
So, how in the world do you actually prepare someone for that kind of reality? Well, it starts with a complete psychological rewiring. And that brings us to our first section, really getting to grips with the grim world a spy has to operate in.
It's a pretty disturbing three-step process. First, you have to witness raw, unfiltered global suffering, just to build up a tolerance for it. Then comes the really big psychological leap, dehumanization. You're trained to see people not as individuals, but as biological masses. And finally, you learn to sort those masses into categories, the harmful animals and the peaceful animals. The point isn't to create a monster, but to forge a tool, someone who can make impossible choices without being emotionally compromised.
But here's the thing. An agent taking direct action, that's the absolute last resort. The real game of power is played on a much, much bigger scale. So, how do the big nations actually pull the strings on the world stage, often without firing a single shot?
The answer, and you might want to sit down for this, is pretty cynical. The game isn't about winning wars. It's about managing them. This gets us to the core strategy, what you could call engineering permanent conflict. Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't just some controversial hot take. According to the agent, this is a statement of actual strategy. From a superpower's point of view, peace in a region can mean a loss of influence, a loss of leverage. The real prize is managed chaos. So why would they want conflict? Well, think about it. As long as two rival countries are laser-focused on each other, their resources get drained, their economies stall out, and they can't grow into a real competitor. And most importantly, it makes them dependent on the superpower for weapons, for intel, for aid. It's a ruthless but incredibly effective way to stay on top. And the tools they use for this are perfect for our modern world. It's a war of perception, right? Fought with money funneled to media outlets, armies of social media bots, all designed to stoke fear and paranoia. But the most twisted tactic? Sharing selective intelligence with both sides. Just enough to confirm their deepest suspicions about the other guy and make sure that fire of mistrust never, ever goes out.
And look, before you think this is just a US thing or a Western thing, the agent is crystal clear. It's not. This is just the ugly, unspoken rule of geopolitics. It's the playbook that any nation with enough power and ambition uses to either climb the ladder or to kick the ladder out from under everyone else.
Okay, so if every major power is using this same dark playbook, what's the end goal? What's the core belief system that lets them justify all of this? It really all boils down to one single idea.
For the US, that idea is called American primacy. It's the fundamental belief that as long as America is number one, the entire world is a safer, more stable place. Now, whether you agree with that or not is a whole other debate. But what's not debatable is that this idea is used to justify almost any action needed to maintain that top spot.
But this is nothing new. Seriously, the Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the British Empire, they all ran on the exact same operating system. History shows us time and again that the number one rule of being an empire is do whatever it takes to stay the empire. So, we've gone past the world of spies and propaganda. What's one of the most powerful and yet almost invisible weapons in a superpower's arsenal for keeping control?
It's pure economic warfare. And one of the biggest guns is a country's own currency. Here's how you weaponize it. A superpower starts buying up a smaller country's currency, a ton of it. This makes the value shoot up artificially. Then, all at once, they dump it, sell it all. The currency's value completely crashes, wrecking the smaller country's economy overnight. And now, that country is so desperate for stability, they're forced to agree to whatever political demands the superpower makes. It's an economic checkmate.
Here's the catch, though.
This whole playbook, from the covert ops to the currency manipulation, it was all designed for a world that might not even exist anymore. The entire global chessboard is being rearranged as we speak, and the old rules just don't apply.
I mean, think about it. Just 10 years ago, you could easily say we lived in a unipolar world, right? One clear superpower. But today, the agent argues we're now in a bipolar world. You've got two competing power blocks, an East and a West, and countries all over the globe are being forced to pick a side.
And the philosophies of these two sides couldn't be more different. The West tends to lead with ideology. Its mission is spreading democracy, human rights, Western values. The East, led by the BRICS nations, their approach is way more pragmatic. Their message is basically, we don't care about your internal politics. Let's just do business.
And this isn't just some abstract idea. You can see it in the economic numbers. The G7 slice of the global economic pie is shrinking, while the BRICS bloc's share is growing. The global balance of power isn't just shifting, it's already shifted.
So in a world this unstable, where the old rules are breaking down and new powers are rising, what happens next? This is where we get to the agent's most chilling prediction. This is what keeps him up at night.
He says the single greatest danger we face right now isn't a new Cold War. It's not a global recession. It's the use of small, so-called tactical nuclear weapons.
And he is utterly convinced it's coming. He says the world has become complacent, that we see nuclear weapons as a relic of the past. And to him, that is the most dangerous fantasy we could possibly believe.
But the scenario he paints isn't Hiroshima or Nagasaki. Forget the city-destroying bomb. Imagine a small, tactical nuke. But it's not launched by a country. It's launched by a non-state actor, like a drug cartel or a rogue military faction. And they don't hit a city. They detonate it in international waters. The result? Total chaos. There's no country to blame, no clear enemy to retaliate against. The entire principle of nuclear deterrence that has kept the world from annihilation for 70 years, it just shatters, instantly.
So here we are. We're watching the old world order break down in real time. The playbook that ran the world for generations is becoming useless, and things are more unpredictable than ever. Which leaves us with a pretty terrifying question. As the old rules disappear, what new threats, what undefined dangers are we completely failing to prepare for? Because we're still looking for the enemies of the past.